Am I live? Yes, I am live. Yo. What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to the show. If you're new here, my name is Mitchell. And in today's episode, I'll be talking about why your time is the most valuable thing you can give to anybody. So I do these YouTube lives every Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So if you guys are ever interested, come join me on the live. If not, maybe you could watch it on a replay. I will be talking about a recap right now. What's up, Bree? Good seeing you again. Hello. So the recap is people who don't value your time. So if you're one of those old viewers, or the ones from the beginning, this was a pretty old video, maybe a few years back. And the recap slide is on spend time. Wait, hold on. Everything just got messed up. Spend time with people who appreciate your time. First bullet point is most people who don't see value in you will keep you on a maybe, or they just kind of outright be like, nah, I'm busy or something like that, right? Example is maybe on a date, or maybe it's at work, right? People who don't see value in themselves project a certain type of energy where other people will sense, and then they start to take you for granted, right? G-Man in the house, what's up? J Park too, right? So you must believe in yourself before someone else believes in you, right? And that's where respect comes in. And you can't give what you don't have. So if you don't have respect for yourself, no other people is going to give you respect neither. So really be careful on how you're using your time wisely, right? And are you doing more things that is going to improve your life, improve your market value, if you will, or are you doing things that diminishes that? So really be careful. Moving on, you can't give what you don't have. Everything good in life takes time, right? Like, what's that old cliche where Rome wasn't built in a day? Well, if you think about that, neither is your character, your emotional stability, because a lot of people, even when I was traveling for a little bit, I didn't really go far, right? But it's just like people feel so entitled over certain things. I'm not going to get into details, but people get very emotional, and people who gets very emotional that doesn't know how to handle their emotion, whether it's maybe being too sad or being frustrated, and outright just flipping people off, maybe yelling at them, maybe saying certain things that makes them feel better temporarily, but you're not really causing anything good, right? You're not doing anything good by flipping somebody off, right? Just because maybe they like cut you off or something, right? So Rome wasn't built in a day. Neither is your character. Neither is your emotional stability, your career, your body. Same thing for your partner too, right? Like if you want to have a good relationship with your partner or your potential partner, then you have to know exactly what you want. And if you don't work on that, how do you expect to have someone good in your life to stay in your life? Or you're just going to constantly attract those people that you don't want in your life. And you ask yourself, well, why do I keep attracting? Well, my question is, why are they staying? Why are they there? Now, there's environmental factors that has a huge role on why you might be the way you are. But here's the key thing. You have the power. You right there. You have the power to change that. If you place value in yourself by setting aside time and delaying self-gratification, right? Self-gratification. Delaying instant gratification. So take the time of day, right? If you're here, you're probably working on yourself. And so that being said, let's move on to our first slide. And I will have a little recap towards the end. Now, time is the most valuable thing, yet we all waste it. Me too, right? I like to sit down sometimes, kind of decompress. Don't really want to do anything. I like doing that sometimes. But I also focus on what I need to do, which is my responsibilities. And like something as simple as my cat, okay? Like every morning I have to feed her, right? But I personally know that if I just set everything up right before I get up, which is about 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m., that if I just set everything up, got the food ready, got her bowl, right? I could just get her the food instantly. Then what happens? I don't have to wake up groggy, upset, and be like, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that, right? And then I change my internal dialogue. Like, I get to have a cat. Not a lot of people get to have a cat. I have a cat, okay? And so anyways, I set everything up. I set my work clothes on the side. I have everything ready, my socks, my shirt, my pants, right? Etc. And I get my food ready, right? It's kind of like meal prepping. And so just by setting those things up early in the morning, the night before, my life just becomes a lot more easier. So I'm reducing a lot of the friction that I know I would need to do if I were to wake up. And me personally, I'm not always the best morning person, but and I know that. I know I'm not the best morning person, but I don't take it out on other people. Okay, so time is the most valuable thing, yet we all waste it. And a quote by William Penn is, time is what we want most, but what we use worst. So let me repeat that again. Time is what we want most, but what we use worst. We waste it away on things that are not important. Maybe scrolling through social media, stuff like that, right? We all do that a little bit, and it's okay, I guess. Just don't spend too much time on it. And on people who don't deserve it. So show of hands, or press 1 or something like that. Don't show me your hands. How many times you spend time on people that don't deserve your time? Maybe they don't appreciate it, or maybe you're there and they kind of take you for granted. It's kind of like, oh, they're entitled for you to be there and to help them. You know what I mean? It's like, no. And to kind of like just go back into the past, right? Mitchell's past. I used to be in this position where I will put myself in this position of helping other people. And by all means, I love helping people. That's just what I like doing, and I enjoy it. And it makes me feel good knowing that they were helped. But then it started becoming this habit of, why aren't you doing it for me? And then, of course, when they do something for you, now this is where it kind of gets a little rocky, right? And it's like, well, basically, they are entitled for my time now. And if I say, like, I'm actually busy or I can't do this right now, maybe another time, they will get upset. And so I kind of cave in. And be like, all right, fine. Let's just get it over with or whatever, right? And eventually, they don't see the value in me. And here's the reason why. It's because I didn't see the value of my time. And if you don't value your time, guess what? The other person's not going to value yours. And guess what? They're going to use up your time. So you have to put value in yourself first. And I will get into details on what is value, on how you could kind of scale that value, right? So we waste it on things, on people, on things that are not important and people who don't deserve our time. Yet we have unlimited needs. We always want something. You ever notice that? We always want something. I don't know what it is. I want Jungkook's new album, Golden. Okay, I just want to get it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's the homie. So I always want something, right? But there's an unknown finite number of time. So if you look at that in those scale, I have unlimited needs, unlimited finite number of time. For me, right? Me personally, everybody has their own little clock, if you will, right? And it's interesting because we always feel like we need to be distracted and doing something, right? So we don't like to sit around and idle for long periods of time. Or, imagine if I put you in a room, there's nothing there, there's no phone, there's nothing, right? And I believe they did a study, which was like, there was a button and you could sit there. There's nothing else but that button. But if you press that button, it's going to shock you a little bit. Not enough to kill you, but just shock you a little bit, like, oh, a little shock. And people that sat in that room would much rather be distracted pressing that button than to sit there for 15, 20, 30 minutes. They much rather do something else, right? And it's interesting how how humans work. We don't like to sit and idle. So now, if you think about that, we also like to do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. Something that you've heard a lot. And the pain, so like an example is like the pain of studying so that you can pass the test, or maybe read up on books, or, you know, and improving your life for your future. But in short, we find things to distract ourselves instead of actively working towards our goals and dreams, right? And maybe you could be asking yourself, well, I don't have any goals or dreams. Well, Mitchell, I'm not as talented as other people. Like, you don't need to be talented to have a goal in life. Maybe your goal in life is to be the best accountant, right? I have one of my clients, he loves his work and he loves what he does and he enjoys it. So he puts in extra time even after work. So he'll go home and work on it. But he works on himself for his job, but he enjoys the process. So guess what? He becomes exceptional at what he does. And he's great at what he does. And it's because he loves it. Could you imagine going into work, hating your work every single day? Look at how much stress it's going to put on yourself, on your body, right? And just kind of like constantly, like clockwork. Oh, I have to do this. I have to, you know, change the dialogue. If you don't like where you're at, well, find ways. Maybe send out resumes. Maybe do certain things, right? And I'll tell you a little bit of a story that happened yesterday. Okay. So if I forget, let me know. Okay. But and it happened, and it kind of got me out of my comfort zone, and I'm thinking about doing something different. So I'll tell you. So anyways, we don't really like to sit and idle for long periods of time. We do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure, right? Short, we distract ourselves. So if we focus on the three influences that I mentioned before, which is the one that keeps you in the past, the one that pulls you to the side, which is distractions, or the ones that emotionally pulls you towards the future, right? Like something that you love doing, kind of like what my client loves, right? He loves working, and he loves working on himself, so he's exceptional at it. Now, let's move on. If you focus on the past 7 days, 5 days, 4 days, maybe even 2 days, right? Just think about it. What were your emotions? And I keep bringing this up, and that's because most of the time we don't do this. So sometimes we need a reminder as much as we need educating, right? So think about those emotions in the past 7 days. What were you doing? What were you thinking? If you had to relive that moment in the past, what were your thoughts? What were your emotions telling you? What was your subconscious telling you? Are you good enough? Maybe you're not good enough. Maybe it's your environment that's kind of causing you to stay stuck. So were your thoughts more optimistic, or were they more pessimistic? A great way to utilize the time that you have now is to enjoy being around yourself, right? Why you feel the way you do, rather than running away from it or distracting yourself from it. Because more often than not, I know a lot of people that, especially maybe after like a breakup, and they don't want to feel a certain thing, or maybe they got laid off from work or something, maybe a loss of a loved one or something like that. They numb themselves, so they try to distract themselves, and I'm like, you're not really focusing on what's the cause. And so yeah, I get it, maybe you want to step away from it temporarily, but eventually you gotta face that, because if you don't, nothing else changes. And if nothing else changes, and if it comes back, what you're gonna do, just deal with it for the rest of your life, like, or hope it doesn't come back? Like, no, that's not how things work, right? Like, shit still stinks. So stop running away from it. Face your fears, right? And that's the thing, right? Courage. Do more things that get you out of that comfort zone. And that's another story that I'm going to be telling you later. So, great way to utilize your time, okay, is to focus on how you feel the way you feel. And if you don't like that, how are you going to change that? Okay. So, and this could give you a good audit on your personal self-talk, right? Because I used to be pretty pessimistic, and I used to be the guy that's kind of like, oh, you know, like, why bother? Why do this? Why? And a better question was, why not? Why not? Time's gonna move forward anyways. It doesn't wait for nobody, and it's always gonna be undefeated. Money you can make back, but the time you can never get back, right? So I think it was Jordan Peterson where he mentioned that he would much rather be a young, broke 20-year-old than, I wouldn't say rich, old person. I forgot what he meant. Maybe I shouldn't brought that up. I don't know. But he was like, yeah, I'd much rather be a broke young person because there's more time. Right? So yeah, it gives you a good audit. In return, it gives you insight on how you're spending your time, whether or not your mental health is in good standing. So right now, it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody goes through something. Everybody. I don't care who you are. You go through something. Now, there's certain times where you feel a little bit more happy, a little bit more excited, more lively. But at the end of the day, we all have things that we know that if we just did it, our life will be a little bit better, right? And so, you gotta protect your mental health. You gotta take care of your physical body, right? So you gotta eat good. I didn't eat good for the past 2 weeks, kind of, right? But I know that I'm capable of going and getting back into it. I know I could do that because I've done it before. And that's where my competence, right? I know I could do it. I've done it before. I know I could do it. But if you've never done it, how do you expect yourself to be even good at it, right? So one of my favorite quotes from Jim Rohn is, every day stand guard at the door of your mind, especially when you're talking to yourself, because we're the most critical to our own self-talk, right? Like there's certain things that you will say to yourself that you would never in a million years let another person say that to you, right? You piece of whatever, you ain't, you will never, right? All the dumbest things, okay? You could tell that to yourself, but you will never let other people say that to you. So why? Right? Now, time is the most important factor for success. Slide number 2. Bill Gates says, most people overestimate what they could do in 1 year, but they underestimate what they could do in 10, in a decade, right? And to be successful in whatever you want to do, you need time and you need to be intentional. Those are the two main things. You need time and you got to be intentional, and you got to put in the effort and you apply actions. It's knowledge without action is pointless. You might know a lot of things, but you can't do anything, or you don't do anything. So nothing good comes out of it. And what you focus on expands. In order to be successful, whether it's your career, your personal life, or your relationships, we need to make time. And I'm pretty sure we all have heard, even I've said it, that cliche. What is it? I don't have enough time, right? I don't have enough time. If you think about it, what you're really saying is, I don't value it enough to give it time. That's really what it is. I don't value it enough. And that's fair, because what is value, right? What does value mean, right? And I'll get into that. So how we manage our time is a self-reflection of our character, our values, and our self-discipline, right? And if you think about how our character is shaped, and character is destiny. That's who you are, right? If you're a liar and you're a cheater and you steal from people or companies or whatever, like that's your character, right? If you're, so really, you have the opportunity to change that because you have control over yourself, not other people, because controlling other people is an illusion. And I have a different episode for that. So character is a reflection of your individual beliefs and your own values, right? Both of which shapes your personality. So what's your personality like, right? And if you think about your personality, it's easy to be fun and outgoing. If you're in a much more calm mental state, and in return, more people want to be around you because you're just maybe this outgoing person that likes to have fun, but you're not hiding it. You're not just joyful because you're just like, oh, like I need to show other people that I'm happy so that they won't know what's really happening inside. Like, I have problems, I have things that I go through, but I try not to hide those emotions by putting out this front. Like, what you see is what you get right here. That's it, right? And I believe in, showing people who I am, because if I show who I am and if they don't like it, that's fine, right? And then on top of that, I will continue to work on myself no matter what and seeing what I could improve on, right? And there's a million things, right? We have unlimited needs in a finite number of time. So if I say, for example, right, like I no longer want to be out of shape, because at one point in my life, I was a little out of shape, right? And I was like, you know what? I don't want to be out of shape anymore, and I value my health. And so I looked at a very long-term goal for myself personally. I said, I'm in my early 20s, early to mid 20s right now. What if, like, why not? What if I just started eating better, right? Like maybe, broccoli ain't that bad, right? Spinach ain't that bad. And just eating a little much more healthier, cleaner diet and continue to exercise, regularly. I'm not trying to look like Mr. Olympia, but I'm just like, what if I lived a healthier lifestyle, which kind of allowed me to enjoy, right? I don't mind a little alcohol or some wine every now and then, but I'm not dependent on it. I like to enjoy time with my friends, right? What if I did that and I continued doing that? What if, and this is my mind just kind of going, right? What if I was like 65, 75, 85 and I don't have to take any medication? Like, that would be a nice little goal to have. That'd be cool. I think this is the right way. It seems like a lot of people are doing this, that not a lot, but enough people that has done it, that are healthy, that are in shape, even in their 60s, 70s, 80s. I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, just being able to get up and move. And what if I have kids and I want to play with my grandkids, or great, whatever, right? I'll be able to move, be able to enjoy my life. So I started reading this book and I forgot the title of the name. Okay, excuse me for that. But it talks about your health span instead of just your lifespan, right? Because you could live to 80, but your health declined at 60. So you got that extra 20 years of not doing anything, not really enjoying life. So he doesn't talk, he talks about health span. Your health span ended at 60, but you lived to 80. So what happened to those 20 years? So yeah, it's really important. Like, the most important factor of success is that you got to be intentional and you need to make time. Okay. So, your personality and your attitude about eating healthy. And that was it for me. I was like, I'm going to do that. And it became a habit. Even when I was traveling, I was like, I got to find a gym. I got to find ways to eat healthy. So I noticed that when I'm traveling, I don't eat a lot of greens. I don't eat as much greens as I should. So I found a little supplement, right? Nutritional support to kind of help that. And it's like those packet of greens, where I just dump it in the water and shake it, 8 ounces, 12 ounces water, and I just drink that. And my day feels a lot better, right? So, and remember, if you don't manage your time and if you don't manage it well, somebody else will, right? And that it's going to cause you to not like where you're at very much. An example is, so how I manage my time. So I was a personal trainer before, and I'm a personal trainer now. What happened before was I was a little bit unsuccessful. So then I started doing things like educating myself in training. I started learning how to communicate with people. I started listening to what their needs are and wants when they're coming in, as opposed to what I think is good for them. That was the only difference. And that changed the trajectory of the success of business. All I had to do was, okay, so this is what you want. This is what you need. Okay, this is how long it's going to take roughly, right? As long as you're consistent, and this is the cost, and that's it. And Sometimes they're like, oh, this is a little bit, it's too expensive or whatever. I'll be like, that's totally fine. Like, I still want to help you even if I can't help you. So maybe if finance is if it's too much for you, basically, maybe I could point you to the right direction of someone that's a little bit more affordable. At the very least, I still, like, you came in today, and it takes a lot of effort to come into a gym, especially not really working out and stuff like that. I don't want you to lose that. So I don't know, find a way. I'll try to help you. That's it. And then eventually they're like, well, I guess I could give you a shot a little bit. You just do a little bit. I was like, yeah. And then it turns out that they loved it and they enjoyed it and they want to keep continuing. It's because they put value into it. They felt that it was worth it. And that was it. Because there was a lot of uncertainty. So expensive. I don't know if it is worth it, right? That's really what it is. But that's the two difference. Trainer before, trainer now. I put in the time to myself to try to learn and understand what their wants and needs are, right? Not so much about what I want for them, because it's not about what I want for them. Sometimes. Slide number 3. All right. And today it might be relatively short video. We'll see where it goes. And if you're still here, say hi, so that I know who's still here. So slide number 3. Emotions distort the perception of time. Okay. Emotions. Time seems to have a sense of humor, right? It can seem to drag along. Who here feels like, oh my God, when you're sitting there in class or whatever and you just bored, or maybe you're bored at home, you got nothing to do, right? It seems to just drag. But then when you're around someone or some things that you like doing, maybe as a video game, or maybe you're out with some friends, whatever it may be, time seems to just fly by when you're having fun, right? Okay, thanks, Bree. Yeah, it just seems to fly by when you're having fun. And in today's world, if you think about this pace that we're at, we move at a very, very fast pace. Like, things get forgotten really, really quick, right? And we're always trying to move from one thing to the next, right? And so if we're trying to do that and we're just moving one thing to the next, like, well, how do we manage our time so that we get the most out of it, right? And not lose that time by focusing on things that should not be as important, such as like always staying stuck in your own mind, having this negative self-talk. Like, how do you do that? By actually finding a solution for it. How do I, can you say hi Kermoy? Yeah. So a great way to utilize that time is to not get too fixated on the emotions, right? An emotion of being sad and upset. If you understand that and how to fix that, then you could enjoy moving forward. Yeah, there are things you're going to have responsibilities, you're going to have obstacles, and there's going to be friction, okay? But as long as you focus on clearing some of the things that you have to do, you have more time for yourself, okay? And a great way to utilize that, and of course, it's easier said than done. We all been there. We all had priorities that you kind of brushed to the side, and it's all because you said, you know what? I didn't feel like doing it. I want to do it. I don't feel like doing it, right? And that's why emotions distort our perception of time. Because if you understand time, like, okay, if you had 1 week to live, are you gonna be like, damn, I gotta go to work? You got 1 more week to live. Are you gonna be like, damn, I gotta finish what's really important to you? You're gonna spend time with what? Maybe your family, maybe your loved ones, maybe some of your friends, whatever it may be, right? Like, you're gonna focus on things that is more important to you. Are you gonna worry about money? Are you? Okay. Now, so we all been there, right? I didn't feel like doing it, right? So great way to utilize that. Set aside time for certain activities so that you can schedule in relaxation time, right? Who here schedules relaxation time? Or they kind of you just take it randomly? Who here schedules relaxation time? I like scheduling relaxation time. I'm not going to do anything for the next 2-3 hours right now, because I know that once I regenerate, once I decompress a little bit, my quality of work improves, right? I'm more alert, I'm more focused. So that way you can make the most out of it, right? You're decompressing so that you could input more quality. And it's also important to be present. So not only are you setting aside time for certain activities so that you can set time for relaxation, it is important to be present. Okay, I know you heard this a lot. I know you heard it a million times. 1,000,001, 1,000,002, okay? It is important to be present with your time so you don't spend your time worrying too much. This is usually where anxiety lives. Too much in the past or too much in the future, or both. Okay? So worrying, can't say, worrying, it gets you nowhere, right? And there's this quote, worrying is like a rocking chair, okay? It gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere, okay? So you could worry all you want, right? What ifs, right? Or you could just try to find ways to do something to, make the best out of it so that you can find a solution instead of just worrying, okay? So why does our emotions get distorted? Great question, Mitchell. Why? Right? And if we go back to our uncertainty of having unlimited needs and an unknown finite number of time, you could do some math, right? Needs to be fulfilled divided by amount of time taken equals your value, right? So whatever your needs are, right up top, and then amount of time it takes, that's how much you place the value. And if the value is enough, you do it. If you value your health, like if your doctor was like, hey, yo, if you continue eating like this and you don't change your diet, you're going to be gone in the next, 6 months. What are you going to do? Your needs to be fulfilled is to I need to live, right? And the amount of time it takes, you're like, well, I'm going to do this regardless. So, and I only got 6 months. And that's how much value you're going to put into it, right? The more satisfied something is, the more valuable it is. In other words, it's more worth it. That's it. Is it worth it, right? So I have my last slide, which is your values, right? So if you don't value yourself and you don't spend your time to build up your value, whether it's in a marketplace, whether it's dating, your career, finance, whatever it is, if you don't spend that time, how do you become that person that is more desirable to a company, desirable to your partner, right? Developing a skill or something, right? And yet there's the thing, we all like to put blame on other people without really taking a good look at ourselves. We all love to do that because it's easier to put the blame onto other people because we don't have to deal with it. We do more to avoid pain, which is looking at ourselves, than to gain pleasure, which is, you know what? I am the problem. I am the cause of this. Maybe if I treated people a little bit better by working on X, Y, and Z, more people will be more willing to be around me. I will have more friends. I'll be more desirable. You will have better, we operate with humans, okay? And if we understand human, there's how to win friends and influence people by Dale Carnegie, right? If you think about the excitement of a dog, okay? It just comes up to you. It's always happy. It's always excited. The tail's wagging, right? You ever notice that type of energy, as long as it's not jumping on you and pushing you over and stuff like that, it's very welcoming, right? How come we don't have that type of energy anymore? What's lost? So what I would recommend is think about being a kid again. If you think about being a kid and you just don't really have a care in the world. You don't. And that's why a lot of people they kind of rely on like liquor or liquid courage, right? Like do that with your own self without relying on a substance to get you there, right? And it takes more time. It does take a lot of time, and most of the time we don't want to do that because it's much easier to just take 4 shots than to actually work on ourselves and be like, how do I become more outgoing? Well, by not focusing too much on what other people are thinking, because regardless, you're gonna think a lot of things, okay? And there's like 7-8 billion people now. Yeah, one's not going to make a difference. Now, if everybody hates you, something is wrong, right? Then you got to really readjust, okay? So, yeah, we like to put blames on other people because we don't have to deal with it. We do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure, okay? So, and sometimes, most of the time, sometimes we need to readjust our lens. That's all we have to do, our lens, right? We just got to I'm trying to find something. Readjust our lens, okay? I got this, okay? When we readjust our lens and look at the bigger picture, look, it's covered, okay? Most of the time, we view things like this, okay? But if you look at the bigger picture of the things that we need to do and take a step back and be like, actually, this is what I need to focus on, okay? And it might sound like, oh my God, Mitchell, like I got so much shit I need to do. Well, you know what? Take it one step at a time. No one's telling you to improve your finance, your mental health, your physical health, everything all in the same day. Plan it out. You know what? I want little things to be better every single day. Now, if you could put a little bit of sprinkle it. If you could do that and improve yourself in different areas of your life in that one day, great. Continue doing that. And then of course, you want to kind of gravitate towards things that you enjoy doing. Like, hey, maybe you're starting to see certain results in your physical body. And then not only that, you're starting to notice that, hey, you know what? I like being around myself a lot. And I like being alone. But when I go out and hang out with my friends or my family or whatever, like I'm having a great time. As opposed to I need to go out because I'm stressed and I need to decompress and I need this. And then you continue to do that day in, day out, right? That's how you get addicted to certain things, right? And that's why people, it's difficult for them to get out of it. And here's the thing. Nobody cares about your problems, okay? I'm not saying that to be mean, but I'm saying that because everybody else has their own problems that they're dealing with, everybody. And what you can do is, what can you do to help yourself? And what can you do to give back a little bit? Because you want to give. And I want to put a pause on this slide now and tell you about what's happening. So there was a trainer that went up to me and started talking to me, and he was like, hey Mitchell, like I have an opportunity for you. I don't know if you want to hear it, but maybe you might want to consider it. And I was like, what is it? He was like, you're a great dancer. I see you dancing all the time. Why don't you give to other people? Like, I'm like, what do you mean by that? He was like, well, why don't you like give to other people? But maybe some people want to get involved in what you do. I was like, I kind of do. Like, I post videos and stuff, and they're like, no. I'm like, other people maybe they want to do that. Just kind of like, like don't make it so intense, because the way you move, not everybody can follow that. Just learn to give. And I kind of I had to take a step back. I readjusted the lens again, and I took a step back, and I was like, he was like, if you want to be successful, you have to be willing to give. You have to be willing to give. And I was like, you're right. Because I was like, I do this on my lives all the time. Like, I like to give, right? And these are free information. It's free, right? And so I'm like, yeah. But I'm like, you know what it is, though? I don't teach. I never taught. I don't do counts. He was like, but you're a trainer. You can move. Like, why don't you do that? And I was like, because we do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. And because I never taught before, I was like, what if I'm not a good teacher when it comes to dancing? He was like, how do you know if you never tried? He's like, I'm telling you, the most successful people that has ever became successful trainers or whatever are people that's willing to give. And those are group fitness instructors and stuff like that. And I was like, you're right. He was like, why don't you just, do a regular class? Something that everybody could relate to. And I think you'll be good at it, but you have to try. You have to try. And I was like, you're right. How do I get started? That was it. I was like, how do I get started? What's the first thing that I should do? He's like, well, you might want to get your certification. And the moment you get it, I could guarantee you, I could get you in the door. He was like, I've seen the way you train your clients. I've seen the way that you take care of your clients, especially the lady with the MS, multiple sclerosis. She was like, I've seen you train her. You put in a lot of care into making sure that she gets her workout in, and she doesn't get hurt. Now, if you apply that to every other things that you do, I think you'll be very successful. And I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. You're right. And so Mitchell is now considering teaching, maybe not so much like dance, maybe some sort of group fitness, So I'm actually gonna do that right after this live. So that's just a little bit more about me, okay? And that's what happened. And it got me out of that comfort zone a little bit, and that's kind of what I needed. He was like, he was a little rough with his words, but I could take a few words. So I was like, yeah, you're right. You know what? How do I get started? Where do I begin? He was like, these are your steps. You need to do it. Do not talk to me. Do not come to me if you don't have it, because I don't want to hear it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get it. He was like, maybe do it a weekend, and take other classes too. See what you like and what you don't like. Pick it up. If you like it, if you don't like it, put it down. Right, that's it. And so, yeah, I readjusted the lens a little bit. Being able to give. How can you give? Right, that's where most people come back. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So thank you if you're watching this. Thank you for helping me with that. So I appreciate yeah, let's get back into this, the last few bullet points that I have. Okay, so readjusting our lens to see the bigger picture. In other words, if you don't value yourself, right, and you let other people overstep your boundaries, and you're not being intentional with the time by filling in your knowledge gap, you can easily fall into the trap of placing too much value on others and not enough on yourself, right? In turn, somebody else will come and use up your time, right? So that's that. And almost done. There's this quote by Jim Rohn, which is, don't mistake movement for achievement. It's easy to get faked out by being busy. And the question is, busy doing what? What are you busy doing, right? And if you have poor time management, it can be related to things such as procrastination. I just do it later. I don't feel like doing it because your emotion distorts the perception of time. Attention problems or difficulties having self-control, right? And that is the end of the video, but I do want to, I did a little summary for you guys. So the first bullet point, or the first slide that I had, was time is the most valuable thing, yet we all waste it, right? We have unlimited needs and only an unknown finite number of time. So that also means that there's a lack of certainty. And humans, we love certainty. It's one of our basic human needs. We need certainty. We need to know that if I go out there, I'm gonna come back alive, right? Like, can you imagine? Like, our feelings has a lot. It distorts us a lot, right? Because if you think about it, okay, what is the success rate of marriages, right? I think, is it, well, 70 to 80% of all marriages are women are the ones that are breaking up, right? And in women, I'm assuming feminine energy, right? They're the one that's kind of like, I don't really want to be here anymore, right? Like 70%. And then they imagine if someone says, you know what, you could walk out this door, but you know what, you have a 70% chance of a rock falling on your head, like a huge rock. Are you going to take that chance? Most likely not, right? So, time is the most valuable thing, okay? Yet we all waste it. So, be a little bit more intentional with your time, what you want to spend on. So, if there's one thing that you want to improve on, but after watching this video, write it down. Write it down because you're serious about it. Don't write it down for me, but write it down for yourself. Write it down because you're serious about it, and just improve on that and see where it goes and see how your life improves based off writing that one thing down. Okay. Slide number 2. Time is the most important factor for success. To be successful, like I said, you need to be intentional with your time, but you need to make time for it. Slide number 3. Emotion distorts the perception of time, right? Worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't really get you anywhere. And number 4, your value. How do you become more desirable to the world, basically? How do you become more desirable, right? Start taking care of your body. Eat a little bit better. Start moving a little bit more, right? Go exercise. If you're willing to spend money on yourself, and I'm not talking about like going out and eating and stuff like that. Yeah, enjoy. But I'm talking about spending the money, maybe hire a trainer, or maybe hire a coach because you want to sing, or maybe hire a piano teacher or whatever that you're interested in, and start investing into yourself. I could guarantee you, especially if that's something that you enjoy doing, you're going to become better at it, right? You might not see like its value right away, but at least give it a shot, so that you said you try it at the very least, right? So think about it. What is your value? How do you become more desirable, right? Readjust your lens a little bit and take a step back and look at the bigger picture, because that's what's really going to cause you to become better. So your physical health, right? Your mental health, right? You also have your emotions, right? How do you understand your partner? By understanding yourself. What do you want? What are your needs? And can you provide that before asking it from somebody else? If you want someone that's loyal, look at yourself. Are you loyal? If you want somebody to be honest and truthful, right? Are you honest and truthful? Do you have integrity? Things like that. What are your core values? So like I said, I know there's a lot of things, but if you look at time and how we only have a finite number of it, it might seem kind of scary. It might be like, damn, I only have X amount. And we don't know that. It's uncertain, right? Like today could be your last, or it could not. And I hope it's not, okay? But I'm saying it's a finite number of time. But the great thing about that is it gives you a sense of urgency, right? And when we have a sense of urgency, we put more value into it, right? Like I said, the urgency of, hey, the doctor just told you only got 6 months. Otherwise, if you keep eating like this, if you keep drinking, doing X, Y, and Z, your life is going to decline. All right. There's a sense of urgency. I got to act up because I don't want just 6 months. I want to be longer, right? So, thank you all for staying here, and thank you all for enjoying this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Why your time is the most valuable thing you can give to anybody, right? And so value yourself first. That way you don't spend the time and giving it to somebody else that doesn't value it, right? You want people to jump over fences for you, not the type of people that stay on the fence, right? Those tire kickers, the people that's kind of like, maybe, right? And how you do that is by improving on yourself. Okay. So thank you all for staying. Appreciate you guys. Hope you guys learned something here. Leave it in a comment below. Tell me what you learned, or tell me what you're going to do, or both. Tell me both. Okay. Give me both. Thank you all. So I'll see you guys in the next episode. I'll see you guys next week. All right. Peace. Bye.